All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our
Good
second.
afternoon, sir.
All right, this is our third meeting for the semester. All right, so today I want us to discuss some few stuff and then we will close. I think these slides are available on the LMS if you don't already have it. So just sign in and then download the slides. You can just go through. All right, so today we want to look at some basic concepts when it comes to business information technology or business information system. So this topic, I will be interchanging information systems and then information technology together, right? So because every business information technology needs systems that will help this approach or the use of technology to support businesses. We cannot say we are supporting businesses without the use of what systems or computer-based systems. So today we will discuss and try to understand what its system or what is a system, and then the different aspects of systems, some characteristics of systems, some component of systems, and all that. So when we understand the background of systems, then we will look at some basic information systems that are used to support businesses, right? What can be used to support the business for an HR department? What systems do we need to support, or technological systems do we need to support our operation, recruitment, training, motivation, employee assistance, and all that? What type of systems do we need, and all that? So these are some of the things that we'll be looking at today. It's going to be very short, and we'll end the meeting. And next week we'll continue to end this topic, and then we will now go deeper and then look at some component of information technology or business information technology, which we did mention last week in our discussion, right? So today we will just look at the system, and then next week we'll look at some of the systems that are needed or that are used by organizations to support business operations. And then next week or the following week we'll look at the hardware and then the software aspect of information technology or business information technology that helps us to be able to, because all these things that we will be discussing or we've been discussing will come to the point where we need either a software or a hardware. So we need to understand what softwares are, what hardwares are, which I believe you did that in microcomputer in level first semester. I don't know if you covered that in microcomputer. Abraham, did you cover that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so we'll look at it in more details this semester, and then we'll go on to look at databases and all that. All right, so after this lecture or this discussion, you will be able to identify systems and then systems components, right? Component that comes together to form a system, and then also be able to identify and then describe the behavior of systems. How does system behave? What are some of the characteristics when it comes to systems? All right, so we'll look at system theory, behavior, the behavior of something, right? So that's the system theory, and then the system itself, and then we'll define systems, types of systems, and all that, and then some characteristics or component of systems. Also be able to identify types of business information system or business information technology, distinguishing them by what category and then the organizational level at which they are used. So we will look at different types of systems or business information systems or business information technology, and then the different levels. Last week we spoke about some of the tactical stage, the strategic stage, the tactical, and then the operational, which is the top level, middle level, and then lower level. So we'll look at systems. I think I discussed some of the systems that are needed at each of this level, like the executive information systems, the decision support systems, the management information systems, and then under the operation we need what we call the transaction processing systems. I did mention some of the systems to you last week, so we'll continue to look at different systems and then the level at which they are used in organization. Then we'll look a little bit into e-business, right, e-commerce, and then the ERP, and evaluate their relevance to the organization. And then lastly, we'll be able to, or you be able to identify the basic strategies and the methods that are used to gain competitive advantage through the use of what? Business information systems or business information technology. All right. So last week we did mention some management issues, right? When it comes to the concept of systems, what are some of the management issues that comes up? So from managerial perspective, this chapter will address the following areas: how systems theory is used as a means of what? Defining problems, and then also situations so that they can be understood more easily, and then the business information system or business information tech can be developed to support these systems. All right. Then how managers can maximize an organization's use of what technology by understanding business information systems or business information technology. How can we maximize our organization use of technology? Through understanding of what? Business information systems or business information technology. Then how business information systems or business information technology can help achieve competitive advantage. I mean, today if you are asked to talk about why technology is helping organizations to achieve its competitive advantages or gain competitive advantages, you will be able to list a number of them. Why technology? So why is business information technology or business information systems helping organizations to achieve their goals? All right, so let's discuss quickly what is a system theory. All right, so system theories are basically approaches or tools that provides a powerful means of what? Analyzing and then improving business processes. So the business theory will give you a fair idea about the business. You will be able to analyze the business, the processes that you go through. When we talk about business process, I hope you guys can hear me. My voice is not too. Can you guys
Yes,
hear?
please.
Okay,
I think it's a bit down though, but
it's a bit down. Eh?
yes, please.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so when we talk about business processes, they are the step-by-step approaches or techniques that organizations or firms put in place to achieve its objectives. So we have step one, step two, step three. We need to go through about 10 steps in order to be able to accomplish an objective of the business. Those are the business processes. So the system theory provides a means of what? Analyzing and then improving on your business processes. If it takes your customers 3 hours to receive a service or a product from your business, then you need to be able to what? Analyze and then improve on these processes. So you can be able to reduce the 3 hours to just how many hours? Just 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Customers are supposed to receive the services or the, and that is what we term as the business theory, trying to analyze the processes that you go through to be able to improve on the processes. So it can be applied to a wide variety of different areas, and it's fundamental to gaining a good understanding of the managerial application of what? Business information technology or business information. So we can apply this theory to a wide variety of different areas within the organization. It's not just maybe the HR department or the accounting department, but across the entire organization we can apply the systems theory to understand and then analyze and then improve on our processes. Sometimes the HR does it work perfectly, effectively, efficiently, but the finance department delays. You understand? Let me use the distance program as an example. The distance department or school are supposed to pay lecturers for their teaching, right? But the distance department or the school prepares a document effectively and efficiently and on time, submit it to the finance department. It has to go through different departments, the audit, the finance, the office of the vice chancellor, whatever, for signing and all approval and all that. So if one department delays the processes, it's going to have some kind of negative impact on the department or on the school. So the system theory will help you to be able to analyze where these delays are coming from and then be able to improve on that so that the payment can be on time. So lecturers will be happy and then they will be motivated to come in and then teach. I mean, the mainstream are on strike, not on strike, sorry, but on holidays or on break because of the flood. But we are here, you understand? We are still having our teaching and learning effectively. You understand? So these are all means or ways to be able to perform our activities and fun. So what it basically becomes a system. We will try to define system in different contexts. So in one context, a system can be defined as a collection of what interrelated components that work together towards a collective goal. So the collective goal is to what? Maybe have lectures for 4 years and then be able to graduate with a certificate. That is the collective goal of the distance school. Take students through lectures for 4 years, online lectures for 4 years, prepare them so that they become products of the university at the end of the day. All right, so that is one goal, and that is a system, the collection of what integrated components. So we bring lecturers from here, we bring students from here, we bring this together, and then we are able to work towards a common goal, a collective goal. So the function of a system is to what? Receive input and then transform this into output. We did mention that last week, that for us to have information, we need to input something called data or data, and then this data needs to be processed to become information. That is the function of a system. A system receives input, which is data, and then this data is processed, and then as it processed, it comes out as an output, which is called information, right? And then we have been able to perform the function called a system. A system has been achieved. We will talk about these processes and then some. So let's look at another definition, of which is a similar definition to the first definition. A system is a set of interrelated components that are working, or related components with a clearly defined boundaries, working together to achieve a common set of objectives by what? Accepting inputs and then producing output in an organized transformation process. So you can see now the system theory appears here. Try to what? Analyze the process and then what? Improve on the process in a transformation process, organized transformation process, so we can be able to achieve our goal or be able to achieve our target. And there are different types of systems. We have physical systems, we have biological systems, we have technological systems, and then we have what? Socio-economic systems. These are all different systems. We are not looking at technology in this context, but we are looking at systems in general. So when we look at systems in general, there are different types. We have physical systems like the solar, the planet, the sun. These are all systems. Biological system like the human body, the digestive system, respiratory system, and all those systems. Technological system, computing systems or computer systems, oil refinery systems, and all that. Socio-economic systems like the business organization, the land tenure. These are all systems that are able to work towards a collective goal or to achieve a common goal. All right. So when we look at this process, this is the basic process. In this context, You see, this is the environment, or this is the system that is performing something. There's an input, there's a process, and then there's an output. In this context, you can see there is no overlapping approaches or controls or mechanisms. So as we input something into the system or data into the system, it has to go through the process and then the output. Irrespective of whatever happens, there can never be any change. You understand? We cannot bring a change. So let me give you a typical example. Uh, so we have been tasked to produce maybe 40,000, or maybe we have found out that there is a new market which will be in need of what certain services. So we have decided to produce 40,000 shoes because there's a new secondary school coming up around here. So we get the raw materials, we input the raw materials into the system. Then we start to produce. So the output is to have 40,000 shoes because we have a target market. But as we start the production, there is a new company that comes up with similar products, similar shoes, which probably the students that we are targeting will start buying. Meaning that the 40,000 shoes that we are producing, we will not be able to sell all the 40,000 because there is a similar shoe company out there which is also producing the same shoe. But we can't make any changes because the system is flat. It's a flat system. Whatever we input, there can't be any changes. That is the basic input, processing, and output approach, where whatever we target can never be changed because that is what we have inputted into the system. Because the system does not allow for any changes whatsoever. Whatever happens within the environment or within the system, we can't bring a change until the outcome, and then whether there will be a lot of depth, whether there will be a lot of challenges, we cannot bring a change in this type of system. I hope you can see there is no change anywhere. It's just a flow from the input, the process, and that is the basic type of which creates a lot of issues in organization. But as we go on, we will try to understand that they are adaptive systems, right? So most organizations today do not basically use the basic model of what transformation processes in organization or a system which accept input, process the input, and then come up with an output. But there must be some kind of control mechanisms. There must be some kind of feedback so that we can bring a change into the system. So as we go, so this is the proper adaptive system. In this adaptive system, we have an input. We process the input. Even at the processing level, we can get feedbacks. There are some kind of what loopholes, there are kind of challenges in the system. Some things are not working. We can bring a change quickly through the feedback. We can make a change in the processes. Then we can come up with the outputs, right? And then there are some controls also. So we bring in some controls, things that can help within the environment, within the system, outside of the boundaries of the system, which is the environment, so that we can adjust, we can bring some adjustment, and then we can be able to produce. So whatever adjustments are also inputted into the system as what input. That is why when you go to the banking hall and other places, they ask you for your feedbacks. So the feedbacks are to improve on the processes, on the system. So we want your feedback so we can be able to improve on our performances. All right, so these feedbacks are inputted into the system so we can process that to get an output. So this is the generic or the original way of what performing input output processes in any system. There must be a way for us to be able to what make a change, bring up a change, so we can be able to what implement the change effectively to help us to be able to function properly. So let's talk about some of the components of a system. We said the system has what input, the process, and then the output. So the input to a system can be thought of as what the raw materials or the data for processing that will produce a particular output. So when we talk about input, basically they are the raw materials or the data. Say the data is raw fat that has no meaning and it has to be inputted into the system, needs to be processed to become an output. So that is one component of what a system input. It can take many forms and are not necessarily purely physical in nature. So when we talk about input, input must not always be physical in nature. It can be some thoughts, it can be some ideas. Then we have to process these ideas to become information which will help us to be able to improve on our performances. All right, so example of input might include data, raw materials, machinery, and then premises. All this comes up to form an information a system's input. Input are turned into output by what? Subjecting them to what? Transformation process. And then the second aspect was what? The process. That is the transformation process. Organized transformation process. So we input data, it has to go through organized step-by-step approach to achieve our objective or our goal. All right. So the output is the finished product created by the system. So after processing, the information comes out as what? The end product or the service that is received from the processes that went through. So the outputs produced by a system can take many forms just as the input. All right. So examples might include what? Information, products, and then services. All right, so these are the main component when it comes to information. But as we did mention, there must be what? A feedback. All right. So information on the performance of the system is guided by what? Feedback mechanism. So getting feedback from your process. The HR department, this is what we do. This is our activities. This is how we perform our functions. Things are not working effectively. What can we do? You understand? We get feedback from employees from the outside of the HR department, and then based on the feedback, we are able to improve on our performances and then be able to perform or provide better services. All right. So this feedback mechanism sometimes are known as what? The feedback loops. So we'll be looking at some of the loops, open loops and then closed loops. All right. So measurement taken up on a production line, for example, a customer feedback on a website are example of what? Feedback mechanism. So a customer comes in and say, oh, the LMS, or is it? Yes, the LMS that we use is not effective. When I go there, I'm not able to. So that is a feedback mechanism that the person is giving. And then we have to go back and check the system, the LMS, if it's working effectively, if there are issues. Because without feedback, you might never be able to improve on the performance. So feedbacks are always very, very important in any system, right? So if alterations are needed to the system, adjustments are made by some form of what? Control mechanisms. Or what are controls? So control is what? Deployed as the result of feedback information regarding the performance of a system. So now we need to bring in some mechanisms, some controls to ensure that the feedbacks that we are receiving, we have been able to resolve all those feedbacks and are able to provide better services. All right. So the function of the control component or the control mechanism is to ensure that the system is working to fulfill its objective, which is normally the creation of a specific output. All right. So do we get the functions of the control component? It's just to ensure that the system is working to fulfill its objective. The objective is what? To be able to provide online lectures every weekend. But now there's internet issues. So that is the feedback we are getting. So what mechanism can we put in place, or control mechanism? Maybe we need to provide some special internet services for the time being so we can be able to have our online class. Maybe we have to do one or two things. Those are the control component or mechanism that will ensure that the system is working to fulfill its main objectives or its purpose. I hope you are getting the whole concept. So in every system, there must be an input, there must be a process, there must be an output, and then there must be what feedbacks, and then there must be some control mechanisms that will ensure that we are fulfilling our objective. Are we on the same page? Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
When the ladies are responding, it means everything is working. That is nice. All right, so let's go on to the next aspect of our discussion. All right, so some characteristics or qualities of a system. When we say a system, which we have tried to define, interrelated components coming together. All right, what are some of the qualities or characters that describes a system? So the component of a system work towards a collective goal. That is the purpose of every system, that the components are working together so we can be able to achieve a common goal. And then there's components are the input, the output, the process, the feedbacks, and then what? The control mechanism. These components are working together so we can be able to achieve a common goal. Right. So this is known as what? The system's objectives. So what mostly system objectives are simple and specific. The system of the LMS, or the objective of the LMS, is to help students to be able to access slides, notes, lecture videos, recordings, and everything, so they can be able to be part of the. That is the purpose of the LMS. It doesn't perform any other activity, right? So the objective of a system is normally very specific and can often be expressed in a single sentence. Let me give you a typical example. An example is what? A car. Right? When we look at a car, the purpose of a car is what? To transport people and goods to a specific location or a specified location. That is a system, or the objective of a system. The car system is to transport human beings and then goods from one location to other location. So the LMS, the purpose or the objective of the LMS, which is a system, is to assist students to be able to access lecture materials and also lecture recordings and stuff for their academic activities. So all components of a system should be related to one another by a common objective. So in every system, they have common characteristics, and every system has these characteristics. They have an objective to achieve. This is our objective, to be able to perform this, to be able to do that, to be able to generate this, to be able to do this. That is the purpose of a system. All right. And all these components of a system which we have mentioned, which you know now, the input, the process, the output, the feedback, which are also helping for these three main components to work effectively. All right. They should be related to each other, because with the input and then the output and the process, they relate to each other. The feedback also relate to the input, because we need a feedback to input into the system again, so we can be able to process to come up with what? An output. So they need to work together so we can be able to achieve our goal. All right, so this is a typical example of what? A system, and then the use of information system, because the use of information system helps management to be able to make an informed decision, so they can be able to improve on what? The system. So the system environment, control mechanisms which are inputted into the information system, and then through the processing, the information system is also able to generate or give management an idea of what decision to make, and then based on their decision they can be able to input something into the system and then process it to get an output. Right, so these components are interrelating, they are working together to help an organization to be able to achieve its goal. All right. All right, so one of the things we need to understand as we are discussing system, because you need to understand the broader picture of a system. Then now when we begin to talk about computer systems or technological systems that support our business activities and business operations, you can be able to have a fair and a clear idea what we are discussing or what we are talking about. I hope we are all on the same page.
Yes,
Are we
sir.
people?
Yes, sir.
The women, are we following? Is it working?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I know the men, they are okay. Steven and then Opoku and then Abraham and the rest, they are okay. So when it comes to IT, the women struggle a bit. So at least I need to seek their consent before anything happens. All right. So systems do not operate in complete isolation. There's never any system that operates in a complete isolation. Systems need to work with other systems, which become subsystems. And within the subsystem, there are also systems. So that channel continues or flows. And then even within the system or without the system or the systems outside the system, there's the environment. A system has to exist in an environment. There can never be like the university system. Your university, Ghana Communication Technology University, which is our university, it's within a scope or an environment, you see. And then outside the scope of the school is the environment, which is the community where the school is situated. And the community influences the school. You understand? If the school was to be in a bush somewhere, we might not be able to have the number of students we have in the school. But the location of the school affects the organization. So the environment is also very, very important. And when we talk about the environment, not just the location, we will be looking at those things as we go on. So I shouldn't just go ahead of discuss. So they are contained within an environment, as I did mention, that contains other systems and then external agencies. So we'll be looking at some of the external agencies. So GCTU is situated or is contained within an environment, which is Accra. And then within this environment, the environment also contains other systems, so other universities. There's University of Ghana here, there's Pentecost University, there's Christian University, there's Ashasi University. They are all within the Greater Accra. So the university, which is a system, is within an environment, and then the environment contains other systems, which is other universities, and then some other bodies, external bodies or agencies, which can be government agencies, the GRA, which influence. I remember some years back, GRA came to lock our school. They came to lock the entrance, said they will not allow any activity to go on in the school because we owe GRA. You understand? So all those things, the legislation, the laws, the government policies and all that, which are the environment, which are outside the school premises, but they influence how the university is supposed to run. I hope we are getting it. So every system does not work in isolation. It deals with other systems. We deal with other universities in Ghana here or in Accra here. Even though we are competitors, but we still work hand in hand. You need them in order to survive. Okay. So the scope of a system is defined by its boundary. So the scope of GCTU is the wall. I hope you all know the main campus. You wrote exams here, so you know the school. So the wall that surrounds the school is our scope. So anything within the wall is the system, the university system. The park, they have the canteen, the lecture halls, the administrative offices, the car parks. Those are all system, components of the system that work together for us to be able to achieve a common goal. You understand? And that is our boundary. That is the scope of the university. All right. So the scope of the transport or the bus or the car is to be able to transport people. That is the scope. It does this. That is the work of the bus, transporting human beings and then goods from Accra to Kumasi or Accra to Tamale. That is the scope. It cannot fly. It cannot be on the sea. It has to drive on a road. So the scope of a car is to be able to drive on a road, but not to fly. It does not have those capabilities to fly. You understand? So that is it. Our capabilities as a university does not go beyond the school compound. It's like you don't go now across a circle as part of the school. It is within. No. It's beyond the school. That is the environment of the university. Are we getting it? So everything outside of the boundary is part of the system's environment. So everything that is outside the university campus, is the system or the university environment or the system environment. Are we getting it? And then everything within the boundary or the scope forms part of the systems itself. So that is how a system works. Anything within the university campus forms part of the university, right? And in anything outside the university boundaries, the walls of the university, form the university environment. So the boundary also marks the interface between the system and then its environment. So the boundary of the university marks the interface between the university campus and then the environment of the university campus or the university, which is outside. We have a main road that main cars are passing on. We have the Tesano training school, the police training school at the other side. We have the open community at the other side, and that is the surrounding of the. So the walls of the university act as the interface between the university and then the environment that we find ourselves. I hope you guys are getting it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much, David. So the interface, which is what the boundary between the university and then the environment or the system and the system's environment, describes the exchange between the system and then the environment or other systems. So the university, the boundary or the interface of GCTU, describe the relationship or the exchange between GCTU and then the surrounding environment or other universities. What goes on between us and then the community, the GRA, the public, the government policies and all that. That is the interface of the university and then the environment that we find. So let's look at these three activities, which is the environment, the surroundings of the system beyond its boundary. I have described that this is the surrounding of the university beyond the university campus. Is what the environment of the university, and then the boundary, that is the interface between the system and its environment. So the walls describe the boundary between the university and then the outside of the university. I'm just using the university for you to understand the system. You understand? So the interface defines the exchange between the system and its environment or other systems. That is the interface. The exchange between GCTU and other universities, the exchange between GCTU and the government, the exchange between the GCTU and then the community is what we term as the interface. All right. And systems can always be complex and can be made up of what? Other smaller systems, which are called subsystems. So the university can be a complex environment which is made up of what? Sub-universities, like our university. We have a whole campus, Takrady campus. These are all sub-campuses that come together to help the main campus to achieve its goal. That's why some of you are able to write your exams on different campuses. I believe there were some few people who wrote their exams outside Accra.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So those places you went are the sub campuses, which is called subsystems. That is how the university environment is. See, the system can be complex and can be made up of what? Other smaller systems, which are called subsystems. Just like our university. The main campus, we have Abeka campus, which is a sub campus of the university. There's even one at Nungwa. I don't know what is happening there, but there's a campus at Nungwa. You understand? Whole campus. These are all subsystems. that the main system need to work with in order to achieve our goal. So systems composed of one or more subsystems are sometimes referred to as what? Suprasystems. So a system that is composed of one or more subsystems, so like GCTU, right, with subsystems, one or more subsystems, Abeka campus or business school, Takrade campus, whole campus. When we put this together, we have what we call suprasystems, which is the main system being supported by one or more subsystems. All right. So for an organization like GCTU, the subsystems such as the marketing department, the finance department will lie within the system's boundary, right? Because when you come inside the school, we have the marketing department or the recruitment department. Let's use the recruitment, which market the university and then recruit students. All right. So the marketing department, the finance department, the HR department, they are within the university, while the following elements will lie outside as part of the business environment. So the customers, you are the customers. You are not within the university, but you are outside the university environment. You understand? But you make up the system, because the system needs to interact with you in order for the system or the university to work. Without customers, without students, there wouldn't be any university. The sales channels, the channels that we use to advertise, like the social media platforms that we advertise our programs and then market and distribute whatever that we have from within the university. Those are within or outside the organization, because they are just in public notice and all that. The suppliers, the competitors, like other universities, the partners that we have. Today here GCT has signed an MOU with this university. You hear they have signed this with this university. We signed this with this university. Government and legislation, the economy. These are all things that are within the environment, but they are not within the system itself or within the university environment, but they are outside of the university environment, but they are within the community or the environment which try to work with the systems to be able to achieve its goals. All right. So an organization will interact with all these elements that we've just spoken about that are beyond the system boundary in the environment. We refer to this as an open systems. All right. So open systems are systems that basically interact with the outside community. It depends on the outside environment in order to be able to achieve its goals. Those are open systems. They need feedback from the environment in order to work. We need feedback from our competitors, our partners, in order for the system to work. Those are called open systems because it is open to the environment. Right? It depends on the environment to be able to operate effectively. And sometimes it creates a lot of issues because the moment there's a change in the environment, it also affects the operation of the organization. Like the university is responding to the environment. There's flood. So customers are saying they can't be part of the organization for this week because of the flood. They've been affected. And because of that, the university has to close down for a week. Or I think it started from Thursday or Friday, Wednesday all the way to today. And it's ending this Sunday. You understand? So it's an open system. The university is open system which interacts with the environment. So effect on the environment will affect the system or the university. You understand? So most information systems will fall into the category since they will accept input and will react to them. Right? So most systems that we use, technological systems that we use, even depends on what? The open system, because they accept input from the environment. Changes in the environment will affect the way the system will operate, the system will. And then we have what we call closed systems. So totally closed systems which do not interact with their environment are unusual. Mostly we don't have such systems, a system that does not interact with the environment. Most systems must interact with the environment because you need the environment to survive. Without those environments, a system might not work effectively. All right, so now let's define subsystem, suprasystems, and then open systems and closed systems. I think I've explained all these systems already. So when we talk about subsystem, large systems can be composed of one or more smaller systems known as what the subsystem, which is the university, Ghana Telecom University or Ghana Communication Technology University, which has sub-campuses, right? And then these sub-campuses need to work together for us to achieve our goal. In a large system made up of one or more smaller systems, which is called subsystems, is what we call the suprasystem, just like GCTU. Big system, which is the main campus, and it's linked to other small systems to form the bigger university campus or the university. That is so the main campus can be termed as what the suprasystem, which is linked with other small systems or smaller systems or subsystems. Then we have the open system. Interaction occurs with elements beyond the system boundary. And that is the common type of information system that we have. That the system interacts with the outside of the system, which is the environment, in order for the system to work effectively. And then the closed system, which has no or limited interaction with the environment. So in a closed system, the interaction is either low or there's no interaction at all between the system and then the external environment or the community, which basically is not a proper type of system. So we have described this type of system, and then this is called the open loop systems. So the open loop systems is basically a system which is like a kind of fixed type of system. You understand? Like the moment we start the activity, there can never be any change. And I give you a typical example initially that we are supposed to produce 40,000 shoes. And that is based on our assumption that there's new student coming up and they might need shoes. So we need to produce more. Then as we start the production, another company also comes up which sells similar shoes, which means that whatever that we were targeting will be reduced, but we can't bring any change. That is an open loop system. So we cannot bring any change into the system, but we have to just follow up until we are done with whatever production that we are producing or whatever that we are trying to achieve. So input, process, and then output, and then that is it. That is the type of environment. Then most systems does not support this type of operation because it does not give the system the chance to bring any change, even though we have identified a change, but we cannot implement it until the system ends or until the results are out. And then in this type of system, we have control mechanisms that can be implemented. So as we go along, we identify some loopholes, we identify some challenges, then we are able to what? Bring some kind of changes into and then input it into the system and then process it so we can have an output. All right, so this is the closed loop feedback control systems. All right, so here we get a feedback and then we are able to act on it. And when we talk about this close, we can have what we call the feedback and the feed forward. So for the feedback, whenever just like what happened in Ghana here, let me just give please don't use this against me so that tomorrow you come and attack. But I'm just giving an example that politicians are in Ghana here. We know what is happening, like flood in Ghana. You understand? We will wait till a feedback that people, cars, people, cows, human beings, and all these are dying. Then after we have gotten that feedback, then now we will try to find a solution to a system. I hope you are getting it. So that is the feedback control mechanism, the feedback closed loop. Here, we allow the system to perform its function. After the system has performed its function, and then we will be able to now identify the challenges that were identified or that came up during the process, and then now we will try to find solution. And then we have the feed forward. For the feed forward, we predict. So if there had been some prediction in Ghana here that there's going to be flood next year, there's going to be flood. So either all those who are living in places where waterlogged places are supposed to be moved, it would have reduced the impact, or maybe let's clear our gutters before. So we predict, and then the moment you predict, you bring a solution before the system is implemented. And here it always gives you an advantage, because you are able to correct all your mistakes, you're able to solve. But the issue too is you need to be sure, you need to be certain that this is before you spend a lot of. Imagine the government of Ghana spend millions of Ghana cedis to bring all these things, clear people from waterlogged areas, and it doesn't even rain at all, or it rain the whole year. The rain that there was no flood, there was nothing like flooding anywhere. Actually, we have just wasted the money for. The money could have been used to perform certain things. I hope you are getting. So when it comes to the feed forward, you need to be sure of your prediction before. Other than that, you waste a lot of resources without achieving anything. But that is the best type of what closed loop activity that can be performed. That the feed forward, we predict and then we try to provide solution. But the feedback, it has to happen before we, and always when it happens before we try to, it creates a lot of delays or loss of customers. Maybe you were supposed to provide customers with these services within 24 hours, and then your system has delayed you because there was light issue, there was electricity issue. You understand? There was electricity, and then it has delayed for another 24 hours. You understand? So then afterwards, that is where you might end up losing a lot of customers. Customers might lose interest in your business because there's a 24-hour delay in the services, and therefore we need to be able to check and be able to. So this is so the first one here is the feedback. Here we have the feedback, where when it happens, then now we put in some control mechanism to resolve the issue. But here you can see there's an arrow directing from the top to the control. So we predict, and then we provide the mechanism before the input is being issued. And then now we can be able to operate to come up with the. So that is the feed forward or the closed loop feed forward control system. I hope you understand the two. The feedback and then the feed forward. So you can see the feed forward, we are trying to predict and then input something into the control mechanism to get the issue resolved before we even input it into the system to process. But the first one here, it is the normal process. We allow a feedback, a customer coming to complain before we try to find a solution. Do we get the difference, the two differences between the closed loop and then for the open loop, it is just the normal, the basic one, which does not support activities. Here there's no feedback, there's nothing. Whatever we capture into the system, we cannot control anything until we are done with the system. And then the closed one allows us to be able to, input some feedbacks, provide some kind of control mechanisms, and then we are able to resolve our issue. Are we true?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So pretty soon we'll be ending, and then maybe at 3 o'clock or something. Let me see how many slides more I want to cover today, and then we can close. Okay, let me see where I am for now, because I don't want to cover a lot. Okay. Alright, so when I get to, alright, so let me do this and then this slides and then we will close. Let me cover 2 more slides so that next week we will just have a tremor, but I will still be adding some information across as we go on. Alright, so maybe I might be deleting the slide and then be uploading a new one. The same slide, but I'll be adding some information. So I might remove what is on the system and then submit a new one or upload a new one. So you always have to check if there's a new one. Alright. So systems in an information system or information technology interact by exchanging information. That is one of the key things that we need to understand about systems characteristics or qualities of a system. Subsystems in any information technology or any information system interact with other systems by exchanging information, right? So there must be a flow of information between subsystems. There must be a flow between Takrady campus, Ho campus, Kumasi campus, Abeka campus, and all the campuses. There must be a flow of information. That is the interaction that exists between subsystems or systems and then their subsystems. All right, and this is known as what? Interface between the systems. So the interface is what? The exchange of something, and here the exchange is what? Exchange of what? Information. As we explained earlier on, that the interface between the university and then or the boundary and then the university is the interface, which is the exchange of something between the environment and then the system, right? So for information technology or information system and business systems, having clearly defined interfaces is very important to an efficient operation of the organization or the business. So it is always very important that we have a defined interface, which is exchange of information between the organization and then the subsystems of the organization, right? It must be clear what type of information are we sharing, how do we receive the information, are we using technology, so it is very, very important for us to understand the flow of information when it comes to business systems and then information technology. We need to have a clear defined interfaces, which is very crucial for an effective and efficient operation of the organization activities. So let's have a typical example. So the sales order must be passed from the sales subsystem to the finance subsystem and then the distribution subsystem in a clear, repeatable way. So here we need to know what to produce, the quantity to produce, at what time must we produce. So it has to go through all, because the finance needs to know the expenses, the profit, how much we are spending. Because there's an order, sales order. We want to buy 40,000 shoes. It has to pass through the finance subsystem. So the finance department will also be aware. The production, how much is the company supposed to spend in order to produce this? And then how much profit are we going to make out of this? And then the distribution also needs to be aware how to distribute this, because we are supposed to distribute 40,000 shoes. So each system must have a clear, defined interface or exchange, so we know. So continuously we keep on doing the same thing, so we can be able to. That is why, even though the distance school is in Accra here, the office is in Accra, but we have subsystems that interact. We exchange information, so they know how many people are writing the exams at the Accra whole campus. 4 students have indicated they are writing their exams on the whole campus. So they make provision for 4 to 8 people in case of anything. They are aware there has been an exchange of information. So if this does not happen, orders may be lost or delay, and customer service will be affected. If the finance department are not aware, they might end up not paying the employees who will be working on the system. And as employees, we are not receiving our money. We also not work. So there will be delays. Or the distribution channel, they are not aware how many to distribute, so they distribute 2,000 and then they relax, and customers will be complaining, we ordered for 40,000, why are we receiving 2,000? You see, because there was no clear interface between the subsystems, and therefore it's creating. So it must always be the idea that the subsystems are exchanging information. That is the first thing that we need to understand, that subsystems in an information system interact by exchanging information. Because if there is no interaction between the systems, then there will be chaos and then there will be confusion. We wouldn't be able to provide the services that we are supposed to provide. I hope we are all here. It's working for us. Right. So the next thing that we need to understand is that the linkages or the linkage or coupling, right, when we say couple, between a man or two people, these are couples, a man and a woman who are closely related. There's something that links the two of them together. So the linkage or the coupling between subsystems varies. Some are so close, some are loose, some are also, you understand? There are some relationship in normal life, there are some relationships that you don't really know whether they are in a relationship or it's like it's an open. Some you see people writing on their status that open relationship, like there's no boundaries, there's no nothing, they are just there. You understand? So that is what we are trying to describe here, that the linkages or the link between subsystems, the coupling between subsystems, it varies. So the degree of coupling or linkage defines how closely linked different subsystems are. Some are close, some are open, some are loose, some are that. So we are going to try to understand which one is the open type of systems, which ones are the closed type of systems, which we have already explained most of it. So it is a fundamental principle of systems theory and BIS or BIT design that subsystems should be loosely coupled. They should be loosely coupled, not closely coupled or linked together. So systems or subsystems that are highly dependent on one another are known as what? Close coupled systems. So system A or system B depends on system A to work. Let me give a typical example. So in our academic environment, we have system A and system B. System A is the one that allows lecturers to mark the script and then process the marks and then upload the marks. And then system B is the system that issues notification to students that your results are ready on the system or send letters to students. System B can only be effective until system A has completed tasks. So in such close couple systems, one system depends on the other to function. I hope you are getting it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if system A has not completed tasks, system B can never work. So the input or the output of one system becomes the input for another system. Do you get it? In the close coupled systems, the output of system A, which is the results are now ready on the system, which is the output, becomes the input for system B, because it needs that to be able to issue letters to students that your results are ready on the system, and then you can go and access. So that is basically a closed type of system. So the moment system A is not working, system B can never work. And some we can also have an example of an organization who produces services or provide from products based on what they have in hand. So here they only produce when there's an order. So to keep our activities working, we need to work close with our suppliers. So the moment there's an order, quickly we call our suppliers the suppliers. So the moment there is a delay from the suppliers, we are losing our customers. That is one system depending on the other. The main company depends on their suppliers, so they have to have a close relationship with their suppliers in order to get the raw materials to input into the system to produce. So whenever we want to produce 10 shoes, then we call them, Charlie, we need this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. They bring it to us, they will produce, and we deliver to whoever needs it, and then we are done with our services. So in such cases, the output of one system are the direct input of another system. That is, so the output of our supplier, which is their product, becomes the raw materials for us. Without them giving us the raw materials, we cannot produce anything. We will be hanging in and be wondering what is happening to us. Then we have the third one, which is the decoupled system or subsystems. These are less dependent on one another than coupled systems, and so are more able to deal with unexpected situations or events. So the decoupled one does not depend on any other system in order to produce. So a typical example is a company that decided that, okay, as for us, we have our inventory. Our inventory is like we have a warehouse. So we produce more shoes, we store them, or we stock our warehouse, and then we are there. Whenever there's a need for, a customer comes in, we already have the product. So they go in, and then we gather whatever they need, and then we give it to them. We don't depend on the customer's order, but we produce whatever. We don't depend on the sales to produce. We are just producing. So when we go into our inventory, we have a lot of stock packed there, and whenever customers need them, we use it. So such systems tend to have higher levels of autonomy. We don't depend on anything. We don't depend on sales to produce. We are just producing. You understand? Being allowed more freedom to plan and then control their activities. So although decoupled systems are more flexible and adaptive than closed coupled systems, look at the challenge. This is very flexibility, or this very flexibility increases the possibility that inefficiencies might occur. So sometimes you produce and nobody is buying. The things are there. Like I used to have an auntie. She sells yam, this roasted yam or whatever yam that they call it. Yeah, and then her target was fitting guys. So at night, when the guys are about to close, then she will roast a lot of this yam. And then these guys today realize that it's getting late. If we don't buy, she will have to take it home, or she has to just. So at night they won't buy the whole day. They won't be buying. They will wait 5 when they're about to go home, and they'll come to her. Plenty yam, roasted yam, on her sieve. What's happening? So if you are buying one, she gives you 2, because abonaso, she has a treat them that say abode the yam. There's plenty, so just come and buy one, you get 2. And she continuously did that for so many months. She ended up losing a lot of money because there was no plan. You understand? So if there's no attachment with other systems, then you produce and then you end up having a lot of your product in stock, but nobody is buying, and you are still producing. So that is what occurs. Inefficiencies might occur, that you produce more, but few benefits coming up of your system. I think we will end here, and then next week. So this is an example. Let me just go through this, and then we can end here. This is an example. So traditional method of production where material is held in hand as inventory is decoupled, as I gave you the example. So here we are just producing. We have an inventory. We are producing a lot in an inventory. When you go there, there's a lot of products. We don't depend. So in such arrangement, it is not necessary for production to match sales so closely. So they don't depend on sales in producing. But this result is higher cost of holding inventory. So you end up producing a lot, but buyers are not coming. We have a lot of students, but we don't have lecture halls for the students. So the recruitment department does not work hand in hand with the department to find out the lecture halls they have. They are just recruiting. So you end up having a lot of students without lecture halls. Now you have to be running blue and yellow or green and yellow. This group will come face to face on campus. Another group will be online, and it's because of planning. You understand? So that is a typical example of the decoupled systems where one department does not work closely with the other department to find out whether there are avenues to be able to contain what we have or what we are getting. So when we talk about coupling, it defines how closely linked differences subsystems are. So loose coupling means that the models pass only the minimum of what information between them and do not share data and program codes. And then we have the close couple systems are highly dependent on each other. So the loose ones, they just don't share much with the other systems. They share some minimal information with them. But the close ones, they depend on each other to be able to work. A depends on B, or B depends on A to be able to function. But when we talk about the loose ones, there's no dependency. We are on our own. There are some few things that we share together. We only share information, but the codes and then the data that are inputted into the system has nothing. So the materials, the raw materials that we are buying for the production has nothing to do with you. We just produce and then we give you what we have produced. And then the sales department, however you will sell it. Just like our university, the example I was giving. The recruitment are recruiting a lot of students without finding out whether we have the lecture halls to keep the students. And therefore now we have a lot of students. They struggle to manage the student because we don't have lecture halls to manage them. All right, so that is it for today. We will end here and we will continue next week.
All
So
right,
any
sir.
question, let me open up for questions and contribution. Whatever that you have learned today, you can also contribute and share your ideas with us.
All right, sir. So please, this is Steven. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, sir. Okay. So please, you made mention of the in ones and then the boundaries and then the one beyond. And for instance, maybe GCTU is a network system. For instance, like the MTN and the Telecel. Then you realize that when you mount the tower within the GCTU premises, you not get the enough network to serve your customers, and then you decide mounting it outside. That one too, does it belong to the school or the network system also? For us, it's mounted outside. So for us, it's mounted as outside. It belongs to the outside ones.
No, it can belong to the school, but it is not within the university system. It's within the environment of the school. You understand? So anything
No.
that goes outside the boundaries of the school, it doesn't matter whether it belongs to the school or not, but it might be within the environment. The customers belongs to the school, but they are not within the university environment. You understand? They are not
Okay, sir.
within the university system. They are outside the university system, which is what? The environment. You guys are coming from the environment, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, but you are still part of the university, but you are outside the system, the university system. It is the employees, the management, the cast, everything that is within. But you guys are what? Outside, because at the point you leave the system. When you are done with your school, you are going to leave the system. You are still an alumni of the school, but you are outside the system of the university. You are within the environment. And we need you to run the system without interacting with the environment, which is the customers, the suppliers, and all that. The system, the university cannot work. So we
Okay,
have
sir.
our server or our plant outside the university. It is within the community or the environment, but it's not within our system. But it works with the system to for us to be able to operate. I hope you
Okay, sir.
understand.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Please, any more question, any more contribution as we close? The ladies, Vida, Fabiana, and who again? Josephine. Yes, please. Any contribution? Our HR ladies, Beatrice. Any contribution? Any question as we close? You need to talk or you need to ask questions, so you need to understand anything other than that. I point in time, we might leave you might be struggling to understand the whole thing. Like, course, nerd, but this is very, very simple. You see. All right. I want to hear one lady saying, okay, something at least. If no question at all, say something at least. Somebody should say something before we end. Did you understand? Are you okay?
Please, there's a question. Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. So, Abraham, please, are we allowed to close?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
All right. So, thank
Yes.
you for your time.
All
You
right.
can have some break till you start your last class for the day.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, I'll see you again next weekend.
All right.
So enjoy
Okay,
the
sir.
rest of your day. Bye to everyone.
All right,
Bye.
sir. Enjoy the rest of your day too.